Something major is happening behind closed doors. Trump is making explosive statements about Iran and the Middle East. Iran is issuing warnings, American military forces are moving again, and the world leaders are reportedly scrambling to stop a disaster that could shake the entire Middle East. But here is the shocking part. While missiles and trade dominate headlines, secret negotiations may already be shaping the future of the region. Could Trump actually pull off a peace deal with Iran? Or are we watching the early stage of a conflict that could affect oil price, global economies, and millions of lives? Today, we break down everything you need to know. Stay to the end because the final developments may completely surprise you. Welcome back to World Daily. If you love breaking news, global news, politics, and powerful international stories explained in a simple and realistic way, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications because today's story is huge. The tension involving Donald Trump and Iran and the United States is rapidly becoming one of the biggest international stories in the world right now. And depending on what happens next, the consequences could affect not only the Middle East, Europe, Asia, Africa are not left behind, and even ordinary people struggling with rising fuel price and economic pressure will be affected. So let's break it down very carefully. For years, the relationship between America and Iran has been filled with tensions, threats, sanctions, military confrontations, and political drama. Every time the situation seems calm, something happens already. And now the latest developments are putting the world on alert once more. According to several international reports, Donald Trump says discussions with Iran are moving forward and that a possible agreement may be close. That statement alone shocks many people. You know why? Because the same period has also seen military actions, rising threats, and warning from both sides. So, how can peace talk happen while tensions are increasing? That's exactly why the story is becoming so complicated. Now, let's understand the background. Iran has been long one of America's biggest rivals in the Middle East. Disagreements involve many issues: Iran nuclear program, military influence in the region, oil shipping routes, sanctions, and support for armed groups across the Middle East. For decades, American presidents have tried different approaches. Some pushed diplomacy, others pushed sanctions, some used military pressure. But Donald Trump has always taken a very aggressive public stance towards Iran. Many people remember when Trump withdrew America from the Iran nuclear deal during his early presidency. That move increased tension dramatically. Sanctions returned, Iran reacted strongly, and the relationship became even worse. Now, fast forward to today, the latest reports suggest that negotiations are happening again. But this time, the atmosphere is extremely tense. According to reports, one major issue involves the Strait of Hormuz. Now, this is very important. The Strait of Hormuz is one of the world's most critical oil shipping routes. A huge percentage of global oil passes through this narrow waterway every single day. So whenever tension rises there, the entire world pays attention because if shipping becomes unsafe, oil prices can rise rapidly as it's doing right away. And when oil prices rise, transport becomes very expensive, food prices increase, businesses suffer, and other people feel the pressure almost immediately. That's why investors, governments, and world leaders are closely watching the situation. Now, according to recent developments, the United States reportedly carried out defensive military operations against Iranian linked threats in the region. Iran responded with warnings, and suddenly fear of another major Middle East conflict started growing again. Social media exploded with reactions. Some people believe Trump is using strong pressure to force Iran into a deal. Others fear the situation could spiral out of control. And that is the frightening part about international politics. Sometimes leaders are negotiating peace while preparing for conflict at the exact same time. Now let's talk about Trump's strategy. Trump is known for using pressure tactics. He often presents himself as a strong negotiator who forces opponents into agreements through economic pressure and political leverages. Supporters say the strategy works. Critics say it creates instability. But regardless of opinions, one thing is certain: Trump understands media attention. Every statement he makes immediately becomes the global news. And in this situation, his comments about Iran are becoming analyzed everywhere. Some reports claim Iran wants a deal that would reduce Trump, while also making America appear stronger internationally. Others believe he wants to avoid a prolonged military confrontation before future political battles at home. At the same time, Iran also faces pressure. Iran's economy has struggled under years of sanctions. Inflation has affected ordinary citizens every day. International markets has been difficult and internal political pressure continues to grow. So Iran also has reasons to consider negotiations. And but here, where things become even more complicated, not everyone understands either country agrees with diplomacy. In South America, some politicians believe Iran cannot be trusted. Inside Iran, headliners oppose making concessions to the United States. So even if leaders want progress, internal political battles can still destroy negotiations. And history shows this has happened many times before. Now, another part of the story involves American allies. Countries like Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the UAE, United Arab Emirates, are reportedly involved in diplomatic efforts behind the scene. These countries understand how dangerous another regional war could become. A major conflict could damage economies, disrupt oil exports, create refugee crisis, and destabilize the entire region. So many governments are quietly trying to prevent escalations. But despite diplomatic effort, the situation remains unpredictable. One military mistake, one attack, one political misunderstanding can suddenly change everything. And that is why world markets are nervous right now. Oil traders are watching every headline. Military analysts are monitoring troops' movements. Investors are reacting to every statement from Washington to Tehran because when America and Iran clash, the whole world feels the impact. Now, let's talk about possible outcomes. Scenario one is a successful agreement. In this situation, negotiations could reduce military tensions, reopen safer trade routes, and stabilize oil markets. That would be a major political victory for both sides. It would also calm fears of a wider Middle East conflict. Scenario two, negotiations can collapse. If talk fail, tension can increase dramatically. Military actions can expand, oil prices can surge, and international pressure can rise quickly. And scenario three, a temporary calm. This might actually be a more realistic outcome. Sometimes countries avoid full conflict but continue operating temporal outcome. This may actually be the most realistic outcome. Sometimes countries avoid full conflict but continue operating in constant tension. Threats continue, small confrontations happen, diplomacy moves slowly, and uncertainty remains for months or even years. Right now, nobody truly knows which direction this situation will go. And that uncertainty is exactly why the story matters so much. So, now let's discuss something many people are asking. Can this situation affect ordinary people far away from the Middle East? The answer is quick. Very quickly, if oil supply becomes unstable, fuel prices might rise globally. Transportation costs might increase, imported goods become more expensive, inflation pressure grow, countries already struggling economically may face even more pressure. This is why international conflicts are never just foreign stories. Their effects spread worldwide. And now social media is making everything even more intense. Every rumor spreads instantly, every military video goes viral, every political statement creates panic online. Sometimes misinformation spreads faster than facts. That's why people must follow developments carefully and avoid reacting emotionally to unverified reports. Now, another interesting part of the story is how divided public opinions have become. So people see Trump as a strong leader willing to confront Iran directly. Others believe aggressive pressure increased danger unnecessarily. Supporters argue that strength prevents war. Critics argue that constant confrontation creates instability, and across the world, millions of people are debating the same question: will this end in peace or confrontation? At this moment, negotiations reportedly continue quiet behind closed doors, but military preparations also continue. That contrast perfectly explains the danger of this situation. Diplomacy and conflict are moving side by side, and history now And history shows that moments like these can change very quickly. One successful meeting can prevent disaster, one failed negotiation can trigger escalation. That's why the next day and weeks become extremely important. So, what do you think about this developing situation? Do you believe Trump and Iran will eventually reach a peaceful agreement? Or do you think tensions are moving towards something more dangerous? Drop your opinion in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss any major world updates. Thank you for watching, and see you again in my next video.